Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. As always, it's me, Ivan, and today we're talking about this Seiko VK68 powered chronograph that's selling like hotcakes. The reason? Well, apart from the reliable Mecaquartz movement, it's a good looking, well built piece that costs just €35 shipped. So yeah, no wonder Cadisen has sold over 1,000 already. I got this watch from the Cadisen official store a few months ago out of pure curiosity. The VK68 movement combined with the low price is what really got my attention. And now that I've had enough time to play around with it, I'll tell you straight away, it's absolutely worth the money. There are a few things to consider before making a final purchasing decision, but from a purely spec perspective, this one has a lot to offer. And with the Double 11 sale right around the corner, I imagine you'll be able to grab one of these for even less than the price you see on screen. It's available in 5 different colors. In my opinion, the best looking ones are the blue, the green, and the brown, which is the one I have here. Unfortunately, the blue and green versions are currently out of stock, but hopefully they'll be back soon, so definitely keep an eye out for them. The packaging is nothing special, but it's still more than what you would expect at this price point. It comes in a simple paper box filled with foam to protect the watch, plus some paperwork and even a cleaning cloth. Once again, the packaging isn't a huge deal, but it's definitely better than what you get with the Omega Swatch, which Cadisen is clearly going after with this model. But more on that when we get to the design. Alright guys, let's check the dimensions now. You should know that this piece is actually bigger than what the Aliexpress listing says. The case diameter is 42mm, not 40, so it's really for those who prefer slightly larger watches. The lug-to-lug is pretty compact though, only 47mm, and the thickness comes in at 12.5. On my 17cm or 6.7-inch wrist, it wears really nicely. It looks substantial, partially thanks to the NATO strap adding a bit of height, but it's still comfortable, it has a lot of presence, and it definitely looks more expensive than a watch that costs just €35. As for the weight, on this strap it comes in at exactly 80 grams. You can certainly feel it, but I wouldn't describe it as top heavy. Before we move on to the build quality and the design, I just want to mention the strap real quick. It's one of those basic nylon NATO straps, and while it doesn't feel premium, it doesn't look or feel cheap either. It's flexible, it holds the watch securely in place on the wrist, and it's comfortable. That said, I would personally recommend replacing it with something else. I don't have one here to show you, but I honestly believe a nice racing strap would certainly elevate the entire look of this watch. The design, as I suggested a moment ago, is heavily inspired by the Omega Swatch mission to Saturn, as well as the Omega Speedmaster itself. As a result, you get some very distinctive design elements, such as those classic twisted lugs that are present on most Omega Speedmaster and Seamaster models, including my own Planet Ocean. Overall guys, I think the watch looks great. My only gripe is the toe bezel. If they had made it a bit thinner, it would look much more refined in my opinion. But hey, for $35 I can live with it. Now when it comes to the build quality, this thing is actually pretty well made. It's all metal, and while the finishing isn't fancy and there is no sharp transition between brushed and polished surfaces, there are no sharp edges and it looks solid. Cadisen did cut corners with the crystal as it's mineral rather than sapphire, and the water resistance is just 50 meters, but again, for the price, I didn't expect more. And honestly, if you compare it to an Omega Swatch, this one is hands down the better watch in terms of build quality. That said, if a sapphire crystal and higher water resistance are important to you, then yes, you might want to look elsewhere. Okay, it's time we take a closer look at the dial. Guys, in my opinion, Cadisen has done a decent job here. It looks sharp and well executed, and even when you inspect it up close, there are no noticeable imperfections. The pencil-style main hands are nicely polished, while the chronograph's second hand and sub-dial hands add a pop of color since they're painted green. Now, that green does have a slight disadvantage. It makes them a bit difficult to read against the dark brown background. The dial still looks good to me though, and I'm particularly glad that there isn't a date window, as I feel they generally don't integrate well on chronograph watches. I don't think anyone really cares about the lume on such an inexpensive watch, but in case you do, I'm sorry to report this, but it's terrible. After charging it with a UV light, it fades off completely after about 10 minutes or so. Alright, let's talk about the main reason why you might want to consider this Cadisen, the VK68 Mecaquartz movement. These movements are accurate and reliable, with a battery life of around 2 to 3 years. On top of that, the chronograph function is genuinely fun to use. Speaking of which, the tactile feedback from the pushers really surprised me. The action is firm, and each press gives off a satisfying click. The only thing that might bother some people is that the first pull of the crown takes you to the date setting position, and since there is no date window, you just have to ignore it and pull it out to the second position to set the time. But other than that, it's a great movement, and if you've never experienced one before, this is the cheapest and easiest way to get to play around with it. So there you have it guys, that's the Cadisen VK68 chronograph. For around €35, I honestly think it's a fantastic little watch. Sure, it has its flaws, the lume is basically useless and the crystal isn't sapphire, but considering the overall build, design and that Mecaquartz movement, it's hard to complain. It looks great on the wrist, feels solid, and it's easily one of the best value chronographs you can get at this price. That's all for today's video, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments what you think about this Cadisen. Would you buy it for €35, or do you think it's still not worth it? Thanks again guys, take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.